Karen, what's the deal with MyWolf?
So tomorrow launches the new performance review period, and it's going to last only 20 days. You know that's not that long.
Right, that's like in a blink, 20 days, 20 business days.
20 business days, 4 Fridays.
Right.
Counting by Fridays.
Absolutely.
And it is the summer.
It is the summer, so that's actually
yeah.
16 days.
So, and this is really the newest way of doing performance reviews for Blue Wolf. It's no longer check the box. It's having a conversation with your manager.
So how do you think it's going to go?
Well, we did do a practice run with the EEPs, and people found that super engaging, and they were able to do, and we actually had a really good turnout. But like anything new, it's not going to go perfect. We encourage people's feedback. We want to hear what we can do better the next time, and that it really is about the employees and trying to make this experience even better.
Awesome.
So best of luck to you in your review.
I can't wait.
Let's hear what we said.
Hey, PAC managers. It's Jen Franco here. Excited that you are watching the manager training recording about the performance review process. I am also thrilled to tell you that on the phone I have with me some friends from the Global Talent Management team. I have Nilu.
Hi, PAC. Hi, Jen.
Hello. And I have David.
Hey, Jen. Hey, PAC.
Cool. Let's talk through what we're gonna run through today on the agenda. The first thing that we're going to talk through is I'm going to just talk a little bit about terminology and email notifications that you will receive through this review process. I'm going to take you into a demonstration in MyWolf that will show you performance as an employee when you're doing your own self-assessment, your self-summary, and then also as a manager what it will look like when you do a performance summary about one of your direct reports. We're going to talk through the 6-step Blue Wolf review process, the 5-step employee review process, and the 4-step manager review process. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about things that you really should know since we're doing this for the first time in MyWolf. There are some nuances that I want you to know about. And also the fact that this is a new way of doing reviews like we haven't before in MyWolf. This is objectivity is now here, and it's because of what we have access to in this tool that helps us to have objective reviews for the first time. So this is very good stuff. And then finally, we'll talk about your immediate next steps. Okay, so just from a terminology perspective to kind of clear the air, when we talk about employee reviews, we say employee review, self-review, employee assessments. The terminology in MyWolf is performance self-summary, and that's when you are doing an assessment of your own performance for that review period. So as you can see, you will do one of these yourself because you are an employee and you have a manager. And so you will be doing a self-summary. Also, when it comes to the manager review terminology that a lot of people use, we're going to call this the performance summary. That's what it's called in MyWolf. The performance summary is where the manager does a summary of their direct report's performance for that review period. So self-summary is your own summarization, and performance summary is you doing a summarization of your employee's performance. Okay, let's look at email notifications. So on July 23rd, you're going to get an email. Well, let me start first by telling you what your employees are going to see. Your employee is going to get an email that looks like it's coming from you, and it will say, you know, my boss, Karen Freed. Karen Freed has requested a self-summary from you. So it looks to me in my email like Karen has gone through MyWolf and requested that I do a self-summary. And then when you click on the Start This Summary button, it takes you directly into MyWolf. And then likewise, on the 23rd, as a manager, you will get an email for all of your direct reports. And it's individual emails that say it's time for you to do a performance summary about your direct report. So if you have 3 direct reports, you'll get 3 emails. And I do just want to sympathize with those of you. We know some of you have a lot of direct reports. So let me just note that it might be useful to kind of just note how easy you can maybe search in your emails for each direct report because it will have their names as part of the subject. And you can maybe use that as your checklist. Like when you're finished with doing a performance summary for one of your direct reports, you can go back into your email and delete that email requesting a performance summary about them. So you're just sort of checking them down, checking off the list. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to go through the process of clicking on the email. So and first we're going to talk through your self-summary. So here is the self-summary that's been requested from you. If you click on Start This Summary, it opens up MyWolf, and it opens up to your Performance tab, where your Performance self-summary is open. And this is where you will fill in all the information about yourself for that mid-year review. So the first, and I want to just point out here, across the top, you can see that this is the name of the performance period. This is, obviously we're in the sandbox, so this is a test performance review. And then right next to it will be the date that it's due. So we are asking everyone in the organization to finish their self-summaries by August 1st. And that way it gives you time to read them, complete your own summaries of them, and schedule the one-on-ones and get them done before August 20th. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So I'm just going to quickly review the questions with you. The first question is you will identify your wins as they relate to your performance around your goals. You'll also identify your learns as they relate to your performance around your goals. Questions 3 and 4, you will identify your wins pertaining to your engagement at Blue Wolf, and then your learns pertaining to your engagement at Blue Wolf. And then we switch to a couple of rating questions. Question 5, how would you rate your tracking to annual performance goals? And how engaged are you with your growth at Blue Wolf? And then we switch back to the last couple of questions that are text response form, which is what changes would you like to implement so that you can continue to elevate your performance and engagement? And then also question 8, talking through, a performance review is not just about your own review, but it's also about Blue Wolf and how we're helping you as an employee. So the last question asks if there are any obstacles or barriers that are preventing you from having an extraordinary employee experience at Blue Wolf, which is an important question to ask. So as an employee, filling out your own self-assessment, you can save this and come back to it as often as you like, but you need to know that as soon as you click Submit Summary, it is locked. So when you are ready to submit for your manager to look at, to read through, once you click Submit Summary, you can't change any of the information. So I would advise you to keep saving that draft until you're ready, but make sure that you hit that Submit Summary for your manager to look at your self summary by August 1st. So I want to scroll up here and just point out something interesting with these questions. This is how awesome this tool is. I talked a little bit about objectivity, and we're going to talk more about that later, but this is what I mean. Let's say we're in question 1, and you're going to talk about some of the wins that relate to your performance around your annual goals. You can see that there is a View Recent Work button down here in the corner. When you click that button, it gives you a different view, and you can still see the question, but now you can see some tabs right underneath that question. And there are current summaries, past summaries, goals, thanks, which is recognition, and feedback, and then coaching will come later. This is the beauty of this tool. You can attach goals, for instance, that directly correlate to the win you are referencing in your response to question 1. So if you want to talk specifically about a win for a specific goal, you click on the Goals tab, and then you would scroll down and find the goal. We'll just use this first one. I want to point out that you can, this is the name of your goal. This is a description of your goal, the overview. Here are some details around the goal, like who's committed to it, who's aligned to it, how you're doing on your metrics. Also, you can list out those metrics here. And then how you attach it, so to speak, to your response is by using these little double quotation marks. And you can see the double quotation marks are located in the different sections of your goal. So if you wanted to specifically point to how you're doing, like how your progress is on a goal, you would use these quotation marks here in the details section. If you wanted to add metrics to your goals, you could add by just clicking on the double quotations. So I'm going to go ahead and just add the overview description about it so that it's referencing for your manager to read about your response. Okay, this is the goal I'm talking about. So if I click on the double quotations, it opens up a box about adding the reference. All of this looks good to me. This is what I want it to say. So I click add, and if I look in the question response box now, in the text box, I can edit it, but it's now attached. That information is attached. So it's very cool. You can add additional items into this response as well, like recognition badges that you've received through thanks or feedback, for instance, that you've received that supports why you're choosing the win that you're writing about.
Hey,
Jen, before we move forward, can I ask you to explain the difference between the two tabs, the current and the past?
Sure. That's a great question. Okay, yes. So current summaries would include a listing of those self-assessments self-assessment that you have that's currently in draft. Past summaries would be past self-summaries that you've done about yourself. So let's say you wanted to look back to the past review period just to see what you said or what your answers were or what you referred to in your responses, like what goals you pulled out or feedback you pulled out. You basically can open up your past self-summaries and read through those. From a manager's perspective, when you are completing a manager performance summary about one of your direct reports, these are handy, especially if your employee has if they've submitted a self-summary for you to review, that will show up here in past summaries because it's already been submitted even though you're in the midst of the review period. But if they're still in draft and you're going forward with doing your own performance summary about them, but you know theirs is still in draft, you could click on current summaries and you could see kind of where their draft is right now, see what they're answering about themselves.
Hey, Jen, can I also point out, we see we can give thanks or the recognition and feedback and how important it is to be doing that right now. Because if you don't have any recognition or feedback to put back into your performance summary, you're not going to be able to gather that tangible evidence. So it's so important that we give that feedback, provide that recognition for these performance summaries.
That's a really great point, David. I know if you've been watching Chatter, we've been talking a lot about making sure you're requesting feedback. That's part of the prerequisite items, the action items that need to be done before the mid-year review process. We've been asking for it for about a month and or more. And so that's an excellent point. The reason we're asking for that information is because we want to make this mid-year review experience as plentiful as possible. And so when you have recognition that's already in MyWolf about you that you've received, when you have feedback that you've requested and people have responded to it, you can use that when you're having your mid-year review with your manager and tag it to your responses so that you can have a really cool conversation with your manager. So that's a great point. Thanks, David. So I'm going to go back and close recent work. And just, again, when I'm finished, I would submit it. In the meantime, I can save it as a draft. Now, I'm going to quickly go back over to our presentation here and point out the bottom email. The email that you receive about your direct reports, this is alerting you to complete a performance summary about them. When you click on Start This Summary, it takes you directly into their performance summary form that you fill out. So you can see in the sandbox, I am a manager and Carrie LaRoche reports to me. So same layout. Carrie's name is here, the name of the performance review, and then the date that it's due. So your responsibility as a manager is to complete your employee's performance assessment, performance summary by August 20th. Now you're going to want to make sure you've got that done before August 20th because you want to make sure your performance summary is complete before you have a one-on-one with them. So August 20th is when the review period closes. So by August 20th, you will have completed your performance summary of your employee and you will have hosted the one-on-one with them. And this looks very similar to what we just showed you when you're filling out your own self-summary, except these are slightly different questions that will be asked about your employee. The first question is citing examples of your employees' wins, about how they've been engaged and what those wins are. And then citing examples about their engagement levels and as far as learns go. You'll also cite examples that your employee can make to really elevate their engagement at Blue Wolf and with customers. I'm going to scroll a few here. We jump into a couple of ratings questions here. How would you rate Carrie's success in tracking to her annual performance goals? You can see here we've got 5 items to choose from. We're going to talk through what each of these means here in just a second. The next one is how would you rate her engagement with her growth here at Blue Wolf? And that is the final question. Just 5 questions to fill out for your employee. And just like I showed you before, if you want to, for instance, in these text boxes, if you want to add any information, any feedback or recognition, any badges or goals, reference any goals, you can click on this View Recent Work button, and it will open that same view I told you about with current and past summaries and goals and thanks and feedback and so on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the recent work, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to show you again, you have the same buttons as you did on your self-summary, which is you can save this draft and come back to it as often as you like, or you can submit it. Now, we are asking you, do not submit your performance summary of your employee until after you've had your one-on-one mid-year review meeting with them. You're going to need to keep it open so that you can make any comments about the mid-year review experience, about the conversations that you had. So we'll talk a little bit more about that too, but please do not click submit until after your one-on-ones are done. All right, let's go back to our, okay, so once your self and performance summaries are complete, you're going to get a couple of more email notifications. So the first one, you're going to get email notifications every time one of your direct reports completes their self-summary, so you know. And you can click on the Read This Summary button and read all about it. Also, your employees will get an email when you complete the performance summary about them. And remember, this email will not be sent to them until after they've had their mid-year one-on-one meeting with you. So this email comes as soon as you click submit. Okay, let's talk through the Blue Wolf review process. There are 6 steps. First, we've talked a little bit about this while we toured the system, but I just want to kind of recap it for you so that it's all in one place. The employee is going to complete their performance self-summary and click submit, and that includes you. You will need to do your own self-summaries and click submit when you're done. Just remember that once you click submit on your self-summary, that locks it down and it can't be edited. Then the manager is going to be notified of the completion, so as your direct reports are finishing their self-summaries, you're going to get an email about that and a quick link to access it. And then you're definitely going to want to complete performance summaries about your employees. Remember, you do not click submit. You click save draft. And then after the one-on-one, you can submit it after you've made your final comments. Certainly, you will have a one-on-one performance review with your employee, and together you'll walk through goals and metrics and how they align to other goals and metrics, other goals in the system, as well as you'll talk through, your employee's self-summary and the performance summary that you've completed about them. Then you will input any final comments into your performance summary about that employee that happened during the discussion, and then you'll click submit and the performance summary is locked. So here is a view of an employee's 5-step review process. This includes you because you're an employee too. The first thing that we're going to want you to do is to watch MyWolf training, specifically as it relates to the performance review. You've got the Are You Ready video and the performance review process video, which you're watching right now, the manager version. There is an employee version as well. you're going to want to make sure you complete your MyWolf prereqs. So make sure your EEP goals are in MyWolf. Make sure that you are reaching out and requesting feedback and providing feedback when you're asked for it. And you're badging folks and recognizing them for extraordinary work. You'll want to make sure you're doing this now because you have a few things that you need to accomplish by August 1st as an employee. And the same thing goes for your own employees. You'll want to encourage them to follow this review process. Then you're going to want to prepare to complete your performance self-summary. And what I mean by that is jump into MyWolf and just look through what your accomplishments are. Look through your badges. Look through the feedback that you've received. And then also just, check out your goals, the EEP goals that you entered. Check out the performance goals that the company uploaded for you. Write down any questions that you may have because once you talk that through with your manager, you may have some adjustments to make to those, which is fun, and that's done after your one-on-one mid-year review. So make sure you're prepping to complete your self-summary, and then you'll want to perform your self-summary and get it done. Make sure that's complete. And then finally, you will have a one-on-one review with your manager. Now, your process is the following. You're going to want to make sure you set up your one-on-one reviews now. Do this now and set them up to happen between August 1st and August 20th, keeping in mind that your employees are requested to have their self-assessments done by August 1st. That's why we want you to set up your reviews after that date. And you're going to want to make sure you do them early enough that by August 20th, everything is done, including all your one-on-one meetings, and you were able to click submit after those one-on-one meetings and finish the review process with each employee. You'll want to make sure you read your direct reports self-summaries. That helps you to prepare for the one-on-one review. You'll also want to make sure you complete the performance summaries for all of your direct reports. And then finally, conduct the one-on-ones. So let's talk through some must-knows. These are some things that I want you to keep in mind because we're using MyWolf for the first time. So from a goals perspective, we're asking all employees, and this includes you, to, check out your goals in the system. As I mentioned, you put your EEP goals in MyWolf, but the company is putting your performance goals in there. We've partnered with leadership to identify what those are, and so there may need to be some discussion around that, you with your own manager, and then you with your direct reports. That way you can confirm that everything is accurate, and then you can maybe edit or add goals that might be missing or delete goals that maybe don't make sense for that particular employee. And then from a feedback perspective, having some feedback in MyWolf is preferable for each employee. Karen mentioned on the all hands call that, how much feedback can you get during this review period experience that we're in? And so we just ask that you just reach out and just request and see what kind of feedback you can get that will help you through your own mid-year review and your own personal self-summary, and then also help you as a manager refer to feedback and badges that your employees get while you're doing a performance summary about them. Same thing with recognition, same concept. So I just want to point out that as an organization, we use the SMART Goals framework when creating goals. So when you're talking about goals with your employees, make sure you're helping line those up that they are specific and they are measurable, they actually can be achievable, so they're realistic, and they're timely, just to help keep your employees accountable to using that framework. Okay, so, earlier I mentioned the word objective, and I just want to point out that we now have a tool that you can use during reviews that can show your manager why you have rated yourself and your self-summary the way that you did. And the same thing goes for your employees who are doing their self-summaries to share with you. MyWolf basically takes subjectivity out of it and brings in objectivity to the entire review process. This is something that we haven't had before. So this is really cool stuff. Before I dive into a little bit more about that, I want to talk about the rating values that you saw when we were doing a tour of performance and looking through the self-assessment and the performance assessment forms. And there was a rating scale that included some key words that you would choose. And so we're going to talk about each of those so that everyone is clear on what they mean. Okay? So if you were to rate someone or yourself as disengaged, this would be consistent behavior, like being disconnected and failing to meet job expectations for that person's role, right? That person is not meeting job expectations. And even more so, they're disconnected. The next one is called below expectations. So this would be consistent behavior such as activities related to their role that they're doing, but they're not completing or meeting expected outcomes from that. Now, expected performance would be consistent behavior that does meet expected outcomes, and it has consistent success. So they're totally meeting expectations, and they're being successful along the way. An engaged achiever, so this is consistent behavior that is above and beyond normal expected performance. This person exudes engagement with other PAC members and with clients. This individual is focused on creating extraordinary moments for clients and for fellow team members. So that's what an engaged achiever would look like. Now the last one is extraordinary. So think this is over the top. If you are choosing an extraordinary rating, this person is over the top. Think LeBron, right? So this is consistent behavior that exceeds far beyond expectations in their job, and they're contributing to growing the Blue Wolf culture and brand and capabilities and overall business outcomes. So if you're rating yourself or someone else with a 5, with an extraordinary, that highest rating, you probably should have significant feedback and recognition referenced in that response that represents why you rated that way, why you chose the extraordinary rating.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
So as a manager, sometimes I'm tempted to kind of give everyone 5s and say they all did best. But it sounds like from what you're telling me here, it's good to be very selective, and it's okay if we get 4s or 3s, and know that those 5s are for those top level LeBrons that we work with.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Sure.
Yep. So if you can't tell, that's why it is so important to reference feedback and badges in MyWolf for each employee, because you aren't with them on site at client locations and in other situations. You aren't with them all the time. And so since you aren't with them day in and day out, using feedback about them and badges that they've received, those are ways to help you objectively rate your direct reports. And we walk through this. Here's a sample of what that looks like. So, if you click to dive a little bit deeper and to choose, a goal or a recognition or a feedback that should be referenced in your response to a question, this is exactly why this is in place. And remember, you've got the little double quotation marks there to actually attach that. So you would use the feedback and the badges in your self-summary so you can show your manager, and then in your performance summary of your employees so that you can share with them how they are improving or how you are improving or how the engagement is being seen, right? How are you seeing the engagement being, the engagement level improving, or that, maybe they're one step closer to achieving that promotion to a senior level. So it shows why you rated the way you did. Okay, so we're going to talk through a little bit about what the mid-year review agenda might look like, okay? So you're going to want to start with them. Start talking about them first. Ask them, how was how's it going? How are things? How was this experience of walking through your self summary? What did you think about that? And then be willing to share some of your experience when you completed your own self summary, which just kind of leads by example and reinforces the importance of the tool. Also, you'll want to make sure you're opening MyWolf goals and reviewing them to make sure that they're accurate and there doesn't need to be any adjustments. You'll want to make sure you're discussing those changes that may need to be made to the goals. That way they can be done. You'll want to review the self-summary that they put together, how they evaluated themselves. And you might offer, if you have any questions at that time based on what you've read about what they provided in their self-summary, you can ask them at this time. You can also, and it would be wise to, for sure, review the performance summary that you completed about them. This is really important, and this is your opportunity to really talk through with them the details and offer the coaching, which we'll talk more about here in just a second. But this is a really good, meaty discussion with your employee about how they're performing and where they could go to the next level and where you would like to see them improve. So you'll, for sure, want to add some final comments based on your discussion. And then you'll click Submit, making note that after your mid-year review, you've made, with that employee, you've made your final comments, and then you lock it down by clicking Submit, and it can no longer be edited. And last but certainly not least, you'll want to thank them for engaging in this process. It's an important process, and I think it can be an intimidating one. So make sure you're thanking them for being engaged. So I want to talk through just a few key responsibilities that I want you to keep top of mind, okay? First, please schedule that one-on-one review session now. Don't wait. You know that you're going to need to conduct a review with your employees sometime after August 1st and before August 20th. So take a look at your calendar because, you know, vacations happen. So take a look at everybody's calendar and make sure you're getting those on the books. And then it's going to be really important that you would lead by example. That would make a huge impact on employees to see your direct reports seeing you completing your self-summary by August 1st. That speaks volumes to your commitment to the review process, the importance of it, and to using the tool to do it.
Jen, I have a question about the actual session. How long do you anticipate that taking?
That is a great question. Okay, so the session itself, the one-on-one review session with your employee, I would expect would take at least 45 minutes to an hour because this is the first time we've done this in MyWolf, and so you'll be readdressing goals, and you'll be looking, for instance, at details in goals that you might need to sift through and maybe make some edits along the way. So it might take a little bit longer than a normal one-on-one review this first time. But generally speaking, it's probably, with a good, fruitful conversation, 45 minutes to an hour. And I would add that when you are completing your self-summary, that's probably going to take around 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get through. And then when you are doing a performance summary about one of your employees, that's 5 questions, but you do want to be really thoughtful about your answers because most of those questions are text boxes. So you'll be writing information in there. So give yourself a good 30 minutes to complete a performance summary about an employee as well. Great question.
Thanks, Jen.
Lou. Thank you. Okay, next responsibility, please make sure you're prepared in advance. Once you get that email that says your employee has finished their self-summary, open it up and read it and make sure you know it inside and out before you have your one-on-one review, and prepare questions in advance so it shows your employee that you're not reading it while you're meeting about it, that you're actually, you already read it and you had some questions and you could go straight to those questions. Try and establish an open and honest dialogue with your employee. The review process can be an intimidating process, and sometimes there's a lot of anxiety around that. So do your best as their manager to, help them relax and help them know that this is an open discussion where, your focus is solely on their success and them getting to the next level and achieving their goals. So really establish that honest dialogue. You'll want to for sure offer some coaching and supporting along the way, especially based on what you've read when they did their own self-assessment. So you might be answering some questions for them that they may have about the performance summary that you completed about them. And then also, you remember the EEP? So that was that was purposely timed so that you would have an opportunity to practice for these types of conversations. And so you should use this, one of your key responsibilities would be to use that experience to leverage at what you learned about the employee. So when you're coming into this with them, not only are you reading that self-summary, but if you wanted to, you could refer back to that EEP that they filled out just to refresh your memory. And just bottom line is get an understanding of where they are so that you can tell them how they performed, right? The idea is that there should be no surprises during the review with them, the one-on-one. If the whole point in setting up a tool like we have is that you're not in here twice a year, right? You're in here all year long. In fact, your one-on-one reviews, whether they're monthly or if you have quarterly reviews with employees, you would be using MyWolf and feedback and badging and reassessing goals constantly throughout the whole year. So that's why you've had conversations along the way, especially if your employee is having maybe some issues, maybe they're struggling with performing for a particular goal and they're not as successful on a particular goal. So those discussions will have happened all along the way. So there really shouldn't be any surprises, and that's kind of the point of this tool. Okay, so immediate next steps. We're around the bend, coming onto the last stretch. This is going to look familiar to you because your immediate next steps are a little bit twofold because you're a manager and you're also an employee and you have a manager. So your immediate next steps as an employee who has a manager is to make sure you've got that training under your belt, make sure that you've got your prerequisites done, that you have prepared to complete your self-summary, and then you actually do complete your self-summary, all of that by August 1st. And then by August 20th, participate in a one-on-one with your manager. As a manager, your immediate next steps, this will also look familiar because this is your process in the mid-year review process. Set up your one-on-ones between August 1st and August 20th. Don't wait to do that. Do that right away so that you've got it on the books and everybody has a goal in sight, a date in sight that they know that they need to be done. Noting that your employees and you will have self-summaries done by August 1st. Make sure you're reading through your direct report self-summaries, that you are completing the performance summaries about your direct reports, all of those by August 1st, as well as conducting your reviews. And I apologize, that is not conducting your reviews by August 1st, conducting reviews by August 20th. So, use your resources if you have any questions. We have a ton of resources available for you. Certainly you have our entire team as your wingman. We got your back. If you have any questions, we can help you. We can coach you. We can role play with you if that's what would be helpful before you do a one-on-one with your direct report or before you do your one-on-one with your own manager. We can help with that. We've put a lot of information in content like tip sheets and training decks like this one. This training presentation is in content. Blue Wolf TV is where you can find all recorded training modules. So all in one place makes it super easy. We have also had a lot of chatter posts about this. So you can search by keyword if you want to, like MyWolf or performance review, for instance. And then finally, if you have a technical issue, you can use the report a bug link in the org support box, as well as using the general support link If you have questions that are not technical related, they come directly to the Global Talent Management team, and we get back with you right away. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to watch this training module, and good luck.